There are a few wide receivers available in the transfer portal that the Florida Gators can and probably should target.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Thursday. I am Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. A reminder, this evening, roughly 5 Eastern time, an interview brought to you by Florida Victorious with Florida Gators women's basketball player Rashea Kyle. It was a lot of fun. I got to say, Rashea was awesome. It was great to talk about her career to this point, including her 50 and 18 game in high school. That was a blast, but that's for later on. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by Monopoly Go, and I have a competitive side. I want to win in every single thing. I'm like the kind of person where end of an argument, I need to get the last word in, just so you know I'm better than you. And I'm a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly, which I love the game in general. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go now, free on the App Store and on Google Play. And we are talking about the transfer portal today. Shockingly, that is going to be a big focal point. Tomorrow, we are going to talk about some high school recruiting. We will have Brian Smith here, but today, I wanted to start by talking about Samuel Brown. Samuel Brown, 6'2" wide receiver out of Houston. He was the leading receiver for the Cougs last year. That is the type of receiver that we're looking for. That's the type of transfer portal target that we, or at least I, want the Florida Gators to target. Again, you're looking at guys who, wherever they were, Houston, I don't care if it's a high-ranking Michigan, Houston, Penn, don't care. You're looking for someone that contributed at their last spot, right? Someone who came in and performed at their last spot and are looking to, again, take that step up if they're at a lower school, lesser program. If they're chasing NIL, I don't give a damn what your reason is. If you're going to come here and compete, that's it. Like, come here, compete, win, contribute. I'm not asking for more. I don't care about your reasons, really. Okay? So Samuel Brown is the type of transfer portal target that we're looking for. Led Houston in catches and yards last year, not touchdowns. Wasn't a big touchdown guy. But led Houston there, okay? That's what we're looking for. A guy that, because usually I'm cool with, hey, you contributed a pretty good amount. You participated in the offense a good bit. You were a significant part of the offense. He's more than that. He led the offense in multiple categories. Yeah, I'll take that 10 times out of 10. He averaged about 7 yards after the catch per catch, while averaging an average depth of target of 11 yards, which is further than most Florida Gators receivers had. Yeah, I'll take a guy that can get targeted in the intermediate range, catch the ball, and run afterwards. And I think that last sentence kind of goes to the point as why I want Samuel Brown to be a Florida Gator. He can be targeted in the intermediate area. You'll notice a trend with most of the guys that I've talked about yesterday and today as pass catchers. I want someone who's going to be able to convert on those 10-yard digs, on those crossers. That's what I'm looking for. We have a really good underneath guy in Eugene Wilson III, and I do think you can use another one, sure. We have a few guys that can stretch the field vertically. I think that you can maybe use another one, which we'll talk about both those archetypes later. But I think that Samuel Brown is like the guy that we talk about where we go, you can be targeted on those intermediate routes that Billy Napier loves to bring into the offense, which is a good thing, by the way. It's very common in modern football with these intermediate routes that go over the middle of the field that are in breakers. We see that all the time. It's very common. Samuel Brown does it pretty well. For Houston, he was a big chain mover. And by that, I mean, he was the guy where when Houston was in a position to go, we need a first down. How do we get it? They were looking for Samuel Brown. First down, Samuel Brown. That's who they were looking at. He's capable of making defenders miss after the catch. I don't think he's, Trey Wilson after the catch at all. Not saying that, but I do think that he's better than most of what Florida has on their roster right now, as far as the proven guys, which very few of those proven players at receiver, or really most positions for Florida at this point. But Samuel Brown, I do think, is better than most of the proven guys. He's definitely behind Trey Wilson as far as after the catch, but Samuel Brown's still capable of making defenders miss. If I'm not mistaken, he also led Houston in missed tackles forced. More than half of his catches went for first downs, which again, that completely excludes context of, is he catching the ball on 1st and 10 underneath and then getting to 2nd and 2 or 2nd and 4, even whatever it may be. Completely excludes that context. It's just he had 61 catches last year, according to Pro Football Focus, and 33 of them went for first downs. I will take that 10 times out of 10. He's someone that I do think that we're talking about as he can come in and be a complementary piece of this offense that starts. I'm not looking at him as, yeah, we need you to get another 60 catches this year. I'm not looking at that. First off, I don't like putting a receptions number on it, but he was the leading receiver for Houston. That's what matters, not the number of catches, that he led Houston in catches and yards. He was their guy. Get the ball out quick to playmakers and let them do their thing. Samuel Brown is one of those playmakers that you can get the ball out to quickly and let him do his thing. And that's what I'm looking for when I'm talking about these receivers where I say, hey, go get him. Samuel Brown, hey, go get him. There are 2 players so far that I've said, hey, go get him. Or I guess you can say 3 with Keandre Lambert-Smith. But even then, I'm not even saying him. I am saying that for Florida, I want you to go get him for a guy like Samuel Brown out of Houston. If we're talking about getting a guy at receiver that can come in and contribute, he's the one that I'm looking for. Not saying he's better than Keandre Lambert-Smith. I just really like the fit with Samuel Brown. And Jason Zandamela on the interior of the offensive line. He's another one I'm saying, hey, go get him. And if you're looking for 2 receivers, take Samuel Brown and Keandre Lambert-Smith. I don't care. Stack talent. And if it means that you lose guys to the transfer portal because of it, so be it. The cream of the crop will rise to the top, right? And so for Florida, Samuel Brown is a guy that I do think you should go get. 6'2", little, like a shade under 200. I think he's like 193 or something like that listed as in that range. Get him. He should be a Florida Gator for the 2024 season. Just saying. In my expert opinion, he should be a Florida Gator for next season. We are about to talk about more Florida Gators transfer portal targets, or who I think they should target. But first, quick word from Yahoo Finance. When it comes to your financial future, you think you've done it all. You've saved, you've researched, you've invested all that you can. Now you need to take those investments to the next level by using what every financial great uses: Yahoo Finance. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. Whether you're a seasoned investor or you're looking for a little bit of extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data you need in one place. Yeah, one. They're the #1 finance destination, producing a holistic look at the financial news cycle, including breaking news, original editorial perspectives, analyst ratings, independent research, customizable charts, which my favorite. If I can customize a chart, I love it. I'm a nerd. I have no problem saying that. If I can customize a chart, I'm going to just figure some stuff out. That's all I'm going to say about that one. For comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com, the number one financial destination. That's yahoofinance.com. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day, we are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. And the next player to talk about is Carmelo English, wide receiver from Michigan Wolverines, not just like the state of Michigan Wolverines, 5'11", 190 pounds, initially from Phoenix City, Alabama, which I don't know what the hell they feed those kids in Phoenix City, but their receivers can run. Their receivers are great athletes. Usually they are great. Like receivers out of Phoenix City over the past couple of years have been just savages. And it's been awesome to see. Carmelo English is one of those guys that did not contribute in 2023, but I still want, and I'm gonna say this now. We had a conversation about this yesterday, and I stand by it. As far as looking at, there's two tiers of transfer portal players that we look at, right? There's the top guys that we look at, the Samuel Browns that we look at, the Keandre Lambert Smiths that we look at, and we go, hey, I want you to bring in this guy, compete from day one for a starting spot. And we are bringing him in, expecting him to win that starting spot. He started at his last school. He played well, and he started well and did well at his last school. And now he's looking for an increase in competition, NIL, better quarterback play, whatever it may be. And now we have him. That's tier one. That's the right now tier. And then there's tier two, which isn't necessarily a lower tier, it's just a option one, option two. And that's where Carmelo English fits. He's not someone that we saw contribute last year. He had a touchdown, but I'm pretty sure that was his only catch of the season. If not one of his very few catches of the season. But Carmelo English is one of those guys where I say he's an extension of the freshman class. That's tier two. A young player who has not been in college for more than 1 year. Carmelo English, 2023 is his first year. 2024, this year, is going to be his second year. He hit the portal after 2023. That's an extension of the freshman class. Like guys that, even if he was a 2023 freshman commit at Florida, I don't think I would expect much from him. And that's not a knock on him. I don't personally like to be too dependent on true freshmen. I say that all the time. I say all the time, true freshmen, I do not want to be in a position where I have to expect you to contribute and play well in order for my team to succeed. That's not a good position to be in, I think, to be like, oh yeah, all these true freshmen are contributing and we're winning a lot of games. It's just uncommon to see. Teams that have an abundance of true freshmen contributing, they don't usually win. Bringing in a guy like Carmelo English, treat him as an extension of the freshman class. Because if you bring him in now, after his 2023 season at Michigan where he did nothing, bring him in now, and then you basically go, hey, 2023 was your redshirt year. Your true sophomore. But 2023 is basically a redshirt year where the only contribution you really made was just being a participant on special teams, rotating in the offense occasionally. But we're treating 2023 as your redshirt freshman year. 2024, we expect you to take a step. We expect you to be better than you were last year. I do also think it's important to acknowledge, like context is never a bad thing. And for someone like Carmelo English, he was a true freshman wide receiver on a run-heavy offense that went undefeated and won the national championship. I feel like saying, hey, why didn't that true freshman play more? I feel like that's a rather unproductive question to ask because we know the answer. because he was behind some really good football players that went undefeated, didn't even play in many close games really, and won the national championship. You don't expect him to contribute. For Carmelo English, I do think that he has potential as an underneath option. Like I mentioned earlier, that we're going to talk about two more receivers after that I was saying that we're going to talk about two more receivers after we talk about Samuel Brown, and that one of them is more of the underneath guy that catches and runs, and the other one is a big bodied player. The 5'11", 190 guy is not the one that I was talking about as a big body player. Carmelo English is exclusively, I think, probably a slot. Maybe rotates out occasionally, but he could still exclusively be a slot. Eugene Wilson's going to move around a lot when Eugene's out wide or in the backfield. Put Carmelo English in the slot. That's fine. I do think Carmelo English has potential as an underneath option. Hit a little quick dig, hit a drag, catch it, run, bubble screen, whatever it may be. I do question his long speed. Not too sold on that to be like a deep threat or someone who, even if he can make a man or two miss, I don't think he's going to be having many, 60-yard catch and run kind of situations. But for an offense that, I said this before, wants to just get the ball out quick to playmakers, let them make plays, Carmelo English seems like a pretty good fit there. Get open underneath, create something after the catch. I think he can be a contributor there. Again, I'm not looking at him as you need to step in and start. I think Florida is looking for guys that can step in and challenge for a starting spot, challenge for playing time immediately. I think as far as can you step in and challenge for something, I think Carmelo English is someone that the Florida Gators should take a look at and can consider as maybe, just maybe, he is that guy. We are still going to talk about more wide receivers, one more wide receiver, but first, a quick word from our friends over at Monopoly Go. I've said it before. I'm a competitive person. I don't have to ask if you think I'm a competitive person. I don't have to say I've been told I'm a competitive person. I know I'm a competitive person. I want to win everything. Always. 100% of the time. I mean, my girlfriend hates playing beer pong with me whenever we used to play because I was just like, I want to win. I don't like, yeah, it's fun. I'm trying to win. Yeah, that's all I want to do, right? My competitive side, big fan of Monopoly Go. And I'm sure you've heard of it. I've talked about it. I've played it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in wild locations, building up amazing cities that bring you money. But the best part, I get to screw over my friends. I love them, but I get to screw them over. I charge them rent on properties, just like Monopoly. Now I can heist their vault for riches for myself, which, hey, more money for me, right? But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. I do like that I get to team up with friends, collaborative effort, fun stuff there, right? Get in the game, join your friends, download Monopoly Go now free on the App Store or Google Play. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. To wrap up today's show, we are talking about one more player who I will say right now, I apologize because I'm probably going to butcher your name. Sydney Banasor, Mbanasor, Banasor. I'm sorry. I'm going to screw that up. However, I do want the Florida Gators to again take a look. And I will get to more explanation, but 6'5", barely played from Utah. 6'5" has barely played. One of those that when Dan Mullen was here, we called them trees. I think a lot of Florida Gators fans and a lot of football fans call them trees. 6'5", tall, vertical movers. They're not really going to create separation underneath. They're not going to separate much on digs. They're not going to separate much on outs. They're not going to separate much on quick curls, comebacks. They're not going to separate much to begin with. But they're 6'5". They've got pretty good straight line speed. They can win a contested catch or two here and there. Yeah, I want to take a look at you. And again, I don't know if Florida will, especially with Sydney, because he's not a Billy Napier build. However, I think that we can all acknowledge Florida needs more size in the receiver room specifically. I don't know what Sydney Banasur's NFL future looks like. I don't really view him as even an all SEC player or even a full time starter. I view him as that's Khalil Jackson's backup, which is fine. Again, one of the things that Florida needs to do in the portal is find players who have been in college for a couple of years and can step in and contribute, rotate, whatever it is, start, whatever it is, step in, contribute, been in college for a couple of years, have a little bit of a more stable ground. And if that's Sydney Banasor, who is an unproven option, then so be it. Again, now, when I first mentioned him, I said it's a player that we'll talk about as why he's not a high priority at all. He would be low on the list of receivers that I would look at. He was we've talked about what, 5 receivers now at this point since the transfer portal opened 2 days ago. We've talked about 5 receivers of who Florida can target. He would be the 5th. He'd be on the bottom. And when we get to 6 or 7 or 8 or 12 receivers, he's probably going to be near the bottom of that list still. And that's not a huge knock. I know it's definitely not a ringing endorsement. However, there has been the little rumor, we'll say, going around that Marcus Burke is potentially looking at the transfer portal. If you've been listening to Locked On Gators since, I mean, November 2022, then you would know that that's not a huge shock. November 2022, I said, hey, wouldn't shock me if Marcus Burke hit the transfer portal. November 2023, maybe December 2023, I said, hey, wouldn't shock me if Marcus Burke hit the transfer portal. It's not a knock on him. I want to make that abundantly clear. I feel like since I started doing this show, I've said Marcus Burke is someone that I like. I think he's a good football player. I think he's got potential to be a good receiver. He's not been given the opportunity for whatever that reason may be. But I've also been expecting him to hit the transfer portal. He's clearly not a Billy Napier type of receiver. It's not working out for whatever reason. Apparently, if he stays and he gets playing time and he succeeds, yeah, I'll pat myself on the back. I think he's a good football player. But this is, again, something that we've talked about as a possibility since late 2022. Don't be shocked if Marcus Burke were to enter the transfer portal. With that being said, Sydney Banasor has been in college for 2 years. He would be a fine replacement for Marcus Burke to go, hey, you're tall. You've got decent vertical speed. Marcus Burke's faster. Decent vertical speed. Win contested catches here and there. You're going to be a depth receiver. Why not take a young guy and do it, right? Is that not replacing Marcus Burke at the bottom of the depth chart with a younger player? So I feel like that is, right? So I'm not saying Sydney Banasor is someone that I'm pounding the table for and that I really want to be wearing the orange and blue. But if you're looking for size, there has not been a ton of it that hit the transfer portal that is someone I'm even willing to say, hey, Florida should look at. Sydney Banasor is one of those guys that Florida should look at that size. I do think that he also winds up somewhere closer to home. Maybe Texas Tech with his brother. Maybe a program like Houston or SMU. But I do think Sydney Banasor ends up closer to home in the state of Texas as opposed to Florida. But again, if I'm Florida, at least kicking the tires, right? Costs nothing to kick the tires. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. We'll be back later today with Rashay Kyle, and we'll be back tomorrow to talk more Florida Gators football for Locked On Gators. I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants, Country, and NFL 33, and I will see you all next time.